Hey, my name is Greg Rojas. I have been with Microsoft for a bunch of years doing SharePoint almost my entire IT career. Pretty much started when it first began in 2001. Doing SharePoint originally came out, wasn't even called SharePoint. It was originally called Team Services. I've used every version on premises as well as now, my last several years has been in the cloud. During this briefing today, we're going to kind of cover some really cool things that we should consider with our intranet. And what I'm going to show you are things that are absolutely available to you in your tenant, things that you can do in your site collections to make them better, make them prettier, make them more useful for your users. So I know that there's a lot of times some people read things on the internet, oh, this is great, but it's not available in GCC, which is the government sovereign clouds that Microsoft allows. Now, there are releases that comes to the cloud, to the different sovereign clouds, such as the commercial cloud, the government cloud, the government high, and the DoD. Things are a little bit more delayed typically when they are reaching into the government spectrum, which is okay. But what we're going to cover today is everything is available to you right now. I'm not going to present you something that, it's coming in a couple of months. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover a couple of sections within this briefing today. We're going to talk about why is that Microsoft 365 such a smart choice for me? What good is it for me? Well, the good thing is, those decisions had already been made through the Department of IT for the state of North Carolina. We have ensured that it is a very functioning platform service for all of the different agencies that are consuming these 365 services. We're going to cover what actually defines a user-friendly intranet. We kind of want to cover some of those things that are pretty cool to know that makes your users want to keep coming back and consuming that information. How do I get, where do I find, how do I do this? Those types of things are what we want to make sure we kind of focus on when it comes time to developing our SharePoint sites. I'm going to cover some examples too. The examples that we have are unfortunately, they're only going to be a screen capture because I couldn't screen share. I have a demo tenant that I built some of these little sites out there, and they're going to be, so for today, sadly, or this during this particular session, it's a screen capture. But on each slide, I'm going to cover all the different web parts that are added to those sites and how you can get those very templates for yourselves. Okay, then we'll talk about best practices. Microsoft is always evolving, and we evolve because of you, because of the feedback we get from you. When you all tell us this doesn't work well for us, Microsoft listens. Microsoft incorporates other capabilities, other features to ensure these sites and these capabilities, these services in 365, they are functioning the way you really want them to work. Okay. Any questions before we go on to the next slide? Okay, let's punch the next one. So why should we use SharePoint Online? Well, as I already told you, the decision had already been made by the state to ensure that it is for everyone in the state. So it's kind of what we have. It has been deemed one of the best collaboration platforms across the planet. Sure, Amazon has their thing, Google has their thing. Every one of these tech giants have their cool things, their cool functionalities, cool capabilities. This one is really specific towards your state and all states within. Is there a hot mic? I just heard somebody talking, or was there a question? Sorry. Someone on a dialed in phone number 18 something something ending in 12. Okay, you muted. Thank you. All right, so why should we use SharePoint Online? Well, it's what Department of Information Technology is giving us, but it's also the beauty of using that Microsoft 365 is that it is integrated with all of your already comfortable softwares that you use, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, lots of cool things like that. Your Outlook, even your email, and then there's the cool part called OneDrive. Why is this important? Because it's seamlessly integrated without having to maybe log into a different service. Maybe we had Google Drive and we had all the different Google workspaces, but then we have SharePoint over here. Those don't always speak to one another. With using the Microsoft 365 platform and SharePoint Online, those are all seamlessly integrated. Once you log in, you are authenticated and you are authorized based on your licenses. And Microsoft really focuses on security. The best part about using SharePoint Online is that it is security trimmed. If you don't have access, you're not even going to find it. You can try doing a search for something and, hey, what is the chief executive officer's salary? It won't even come up because you don't have access. It won't give you a result, and then you click on it and you get an access denied. It just won't even give it to you. It's very security trimmed. That's one part of the security aspect that we have in SharePoint Online, but we also have things like data loss prevention policies. What we don't want is that disgruntled employee on a Friday afternoon firing off a ton of documents to the Channel 8 News and then quits. Those types of things, especially very sensitive information, social security numbers, tax information, lots of things like that that can be very detrimental if shared externally to the state, even if shared externally from the agency. So those are some considerations we want to know that, hey, this is why it's great to have this SharePoint Online, because Microsoft and the state of North Carolina is smart in saying we need to make sure that our data is secure. Okay. And that last bullet down there, collaboration. I'm a big fan about collaboration because what we're doing right now, we are all collaborating on this session. Why? Because you're sitting in to listen to, what does Greg have to tell me about SharePoint? How can I make mine better? How can I make it prettier? What can I do? What can I do? I'm feeding you this information, Karen, and you guys are the guys from the Department of IT that are putting on this presentation today. They're going to share all these slides with you. So we're going to collaborate. You heard me say some stuff. All this information's on my slides. Go in, click on it, refer to it later. It is a form of collaboration. SharePoint Online, you put a document, you share it with a colleague, you share it with a different member from an agency. Say, I need your assistance with this document or with this spreadsheet or this PowerPoint or whatever the case might be. That is true collaboration. No longer do we need to email files around and, there's 7 versions of it floating around in emails because they sent it to a bunch of people. It's all real time. All 7 of you could be actually working on the same Word document at the exact same time. It's pretty incredible. So that's why collaboration is also, it's the foundation of SharePoint. All right, Karen, next slide, please. All right, so we talked a little bit about, I just started saying how collaboration is that foundation of SharePoint Online. And I told you that you can have multiple collaborators on a single document, single spreadsheet, on multiple files that you guys are all working on at the same time. But there's also versioning. That is a big thing, and it's on by default. Microsoft learned that over the years, with the different SharePoint versions that we had, versioning was never enabled by default. What does versioning mean, Greg? You're talking about it, version control. What is that? Well, what that means is if I'm working on a document and when I'm done typing, it saves, and then Justin makes a change to that document, I can still roll back. Maybe Kristen was doing something, she stepped away and her kids came over and typed a whole bunch of stuff and deleted a bunch of stuff and it's saved. Well, good thing is we can still roll back to Justin's version or back to my version. That's what versioning control is on. It's on by default and it saves every couple of seconds, and you can go up to 500 versions back should you need to roll that far back. That's a great capability, because how many times I have worked with customers who said, we've had this document, somebody made a change and he overwrote the boss's changes and the boss is on vacation and now we don't know what he had originally said. Well, if versioning wasn't on, that document is out of luck until the boss gets back. Not in SharePoint Online. SharePoint Online, that capability is enabled right out of the gate. Now, somebody asked me the other day, how many collaborators can we have concurrently in a document? I could tell you, I have worked on documents with up to about 17, 18 people, and it was beautiful. You may do some research on the internet and find out that once you start getting close to the 100 mark at one exact time that everybody's working on, there may be some degraded services. It's just because it's really trying to keep up with every click, every type, every edit, spacebar, backspace. So it kind of slows down. So just, the good thing is you can have up to almost 100 people collaborating on one document all at the exact time. Now, you guys remember back in the day, right? That term back in the day when everything was on a network, if you opened up a file that somebody else had open, you got to wait until they're done. Not anymore, not with SharePoint Online. That concurrent collaboration is available and it's up and running right now. If you haven't tried it, give it a whirl. Say, hey, Bob, open up this file. Hey, Sammy, open it up as well. And Julie, would you mind opening up? And then make changes all at the same time. You will see the bubbles for each person saying, hey, Bob is making here, Julie's making the change there. That's the beauty of this collaboration in SharePoint Online. Karen, next slide, please. All right. Now, I did say it's integrated with our, you got to click away on me. I don't know. Sorry about that. So it is integrated with your 365 platform. I did mention that it can work with your Word, Excel, your PowerPoint, but it can also use things like Teams, OneDrive, and Outlook. If you don't know what those are, come back to my session at 1 o'clock this afternoon and talk to and kind of introduce you to what Teams can do and some of the powers within inside a team. But OneDrive is your personal space for saving all of your files. Maybe you're working on stuff that it's not ready to publish to SharePoint, right? You're still working. You don't want to put something that's a work in progress out there. So you work on it on your OneDrive. You can share from your OneDrive to another colleague or multiple colleagues. Help me rewrite this section. Help me pretty up this PowerPoint. When it's done, then you post it to SharePoint Online. So OneDrive is, in essence, it is a SharePoint backend. So it's still inside of SharePoint, using all the SharePoint functionality, the 500 version control, the up to as many collaborators as you need concurrently on any given document. So it's all built into that, as well as things like Outlook. Hey, I can open up my SharePoint site from my Outlook client and save files, save attachments from email and so forth. So that interwoven integration with 365, it's seamless to you. It's no longer do you have to ask IT, can I get access to SharePoint? Can I get access to the email? Can I get access to it here? No, because of that 365 integration, by default, you have access. Now, of course, there's restrictions. If you don't have access, you're not going to get in. You're not going to see it. You're not even going to find it. And you have to ask, Mother, may I join the Cool Kids Club? And then someone lets you in. Then you can use your other tools like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, OneDrive, and so forth. Okay. Any questions? I know I've been kind of going for a good couple of minutes. I love to talk. I love to talk SharePoint and migrations and all that neat stuff, but that's me. Any questions? So what was the difference from OneNote to SharePoint? Is that OneNote or OneDrive? Shannon?
Oh, there we go. OneNote. We use OneNote quite a bit in collaboration and keeping our team together. So awesome. What would be the difference?
So the difference is you can't, from inside of OneNote, schedule a meeting. Whereas in SharePoint, if it's tied to Teams, you have an integrated mailbox and calendar, can have discussions inside of Teams. And I'm going to get to Jackie's questions too, because she's got some pretty good questions out there. OneNote can also be shared and placed into OneDrive, into SharePoint, where then all of your users that are collaborating on your OneNote, maybe on a network drive, okay, if they're using that OneNote on a network drive, that's the only way they can access it. If you put it into SharePoint, integrate it into SharePoint, it's then accessible via your mobile device. You can access it from your cell phone versus having to get onto your computer, having to VPN into the office, and then open that OneNote that's on a network drive. So being it saved into the cloud kind of makes that collaboration far greater for you.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Shannon. Thank you for posting your question. And Jackie says, what's the difference between using a team in Teams and using SharePoint? Hey, that's a great question, because there is that, how do I know what is what, or when do I use what? Here's what you want to know, Jackie, just so we all are on the call, we know. Teams, when you use files, share files inside of Teams, not on a one-on-one, like, between you, Jackie, and let's say Shannon, say, hey, Shannon, here's a file. Those files are shared in OneNote. OneDrive. See, I'm just talking about OneNote. It's shared in OneDrive. But if you're in a team, for example, the team of the marketing team, and you're on the channel for new products inside of that team, those files are actually being stored in SharePoint. Yes, you access them via Teams, but the back end of that when you click on that little tab that says files, those files are stored in SharePoint. So the back end of Teams, when it comes to all your files, it is SharePoint. Marie, you asking, can I show an example of what? Would you mind coming off the mute? Obrigado. Okay. We'll get back to her. Go ahead and Karen, go to our next slide, please. All right. Another cool capability, I've mentioned a couple of the security already, things like data loss prevention. We can make sure that our users are not going to share it to the Channel 5 news on a Friday afternoon right before they quit. Great, that data loss prevention. But there's also things like that multi-factor when you're trying to authenticate. If your account and password happens to get compromised, your Microsoft 365 tenant has multi-factor authentication, whereas it will have to send you a text or use the Authenticator app to say, yes, this is me. If your account and password gets compromised and all of a sudden you get a login request for a particular SharePoint inside of your tenant from Germany, you want to probably say, I'm not in Germany. I'm going to decline that. That multi-factor authentication is preserving your accounts as well. So that type of security is already embedded into your tenant to ensure that your information is secure, not only just while it's sitting in SharePoint at rest, but in transit. All data is encrypted to and from SharePoint. All right, so I'm seeing, so SharePoint is a storehouse for documents and Teams is a collaboration on multiple levels. Absolutely. Absolutely. SharePoint is your file cabinet. Teams is your instant message. If we're going to put it into really simple, instant message and your telephone. This is how I talk to my people. This is how we talk back and forth. But when I need to save a file, we're putting it in SharePoint, but it's accessible from your Teams client.
Greg, I know that our friend Rod Parrish likes to say that Teams is like the car and SharePoint is like the engine underneath.
Nice. I like that. That's a very cool analogy. Absolutely. So your Teams is running because you have SharePoint. You can't run Teams without SharePoint. So he's absolutely right. Teams is your car and SharePoint's your engine, man. They work together. And that's that integration of that 365 we were talking about just a little while ago. So Brenda's saying, from a restricted / confidential information standpoint, what is the best tool or app to utilize for sharing data within like the IT security team? SharePoint. Even OneDrive. Now, if there is confidential, restricted, PII, that type of information, there are some things that we definitely are working with, and I don't know all of them that are enabled yet in the tenant, but IT is absolutely looking at setting up what's called security, your sensitivity labels. You can document, this document is considered confidential. This spreadsheet is considered highly confidential. And then there's security measures behind those two types of labels. Confidential, well, we can share it to only these people. Highly confidential, cannot be shared except our own team, period. So there are things like that, and making sure if we label it highly confidential, then that document too can never be deleted or can only be deleted after 10 years. There's a lot of little moving pieces, but this is all integrated in SharePoint as well from the security perspective. So Jessica, you're saying from everything I've read, SharePoint is a platform, not an application. That's unfortunately not true. It is a software as a service. SharePoint Online is considered a software as a service. Platform would involve the different servers that you're going to have, the databases you're going to build into them. The SharePoint service is provided to you. The back end of it is what Microsoft manages, the actual servers in the databases. So it is considered software as a service. How do we get into SharePoint, Jasmine? Easy. If you're ready, type in HTTPS. Actually, yeah, just go to office.com and log in with your state of North Carolina email address. In the upper left-hand corner, once you get authenticated, you're going to see a little square, kind of looks like a Lego waffle. There's a bunch of little dots. It's called the app launcher, but in the upper left-hand corner, that app launcher, if you click on it, you'll see some of the apps. If you don't see them all, there's an option to click more apps. Oh, perfect. There we go. Yeah, take us to office.com, please, would you?
Okay.
Yeah, that's the app launcher or waffle, but it is built in everywhere. So right now, Karen's taking us to office.com. She's going to authenticate with her karen.man@nc.gov. We won't see your password. It's going to automatically log you in because it's your profile. She's going to bring that right back over here.
Yep.
Then see that little Lego waffle in the upper left-hand corner? Kind of looks like a waffle. I want to put some butter and syrup on it. That is called the app launcher. Now, notice I don't see SharePoint there either, but if she clicks on more apps, it's going to give some bigger ones across, but sometimes still doesn't show them all. She doesn't still show them, but now if she clicks all apps, these are listed in alphabetical order. There is SharePoint. If she clicks that, it's going to take you to ncconnect.sharepoint.com. This is considered the SharePoint application page. It is unique to everyone. So if you're looking at your SharePoint, if you click on the SharePoint icon in office.com, it may look totally different than what she has, because this is the sites that Karen visits from. These are the sites that Karen has subscribed and following. So some of them, now there are some information, some links on there on the left that says featured links. This is what the IT says, hey, is important to everyone. So these are available, but the things you're seeing here, these are the sites that she goes to a lot. Very different than what you do. So it's an individualized SharePoint landing page. Thank you so much for that, Karen. That was more like super impromptu, away from the slides, but that was great.
No problem. You want me to move forward?
Let's go ahead and go.
Okay.
All right. So what do we need to do, or who do we need to talk to? What are the things that make my intranet pretty? It is keeping things like branding, keeping things like your navigation and your layout. What do these things, how do these things work for you? It is, the branding keeps it a consistent look and feel. The navigation should always deliver on the promise. If it's a link to something, it should take me exactly to that something, not to a page to find another link. Take me directly to it. And then the layout is also equally important, that you ensure that you're not making a site or a web page that is just a mountain of words, because your users are not going to read all of that. Many studies have been done where people read in kind of like an F pattern. They'll start reading everything at the top from left to right, and then it kind of starts to narrow down till finally they're just skimming the left-hand column to see what they can read out of it, because they don't want to read a 13,000 page web page or 13,000 word web page. They just skip it. So be cognizant. And the cool thing is, when these templates or when you request a site from the Department of IT, they'll give you a site that's already kind of, that doesn't follow that, hey, I'm going to make a page that's going to be just full of words. It's already broken apart into different sections that is aesthetically pleasing, but nothing saying you can't tweak it better. These are just templates that are out of the box that Microsoft has made available to everybody. And if you don't like it, no problem. Tweak it. Use your imagination. Always keep in mind that the more words you put on a page, the less likely people are to read it. Summarize, bold things, make them links to more information, give them teasers, just like when we log onto the web, we're going to go to MSN or one of them websites and, hey, here's a headline. Oh, that looks cool. Click. Now I'm reading more information because I want to. Okay, go ahead and go on to the next slide, Karen. All right, branding. I love that you can brand your sites. Every tenant has a predetermined 13 themes that users can choose from. Okay, Anna, great question. I'll show you. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. That you can brand your colors and try to keep them consistent. Because what's difficult, let's say I'm in the Department of Agriculture's website, and they have 6 or 7 different websites, but they don't have a consistent theme going through. One is blue, one is purple, and then I get into another one that's completely black and yellow. I'm like, oh, I must not be in the Department of Agriculture anymore. Let me go back to the site it was on. Keeping a consistent look and feel brands it and makes that more appealing to your users and your visitors. Okay, so those built-in themes are great. They're very 508 compliant as well. So just understand that when you use one of those themes, colors that are the color themes that are out there, they are compliant with Section 508 of the U.S. Code 508. I forget the whole thing, but I know it's called U.S. Code Section 508. Awesome. Next slide, please. All right. This I cannot stress enough, but when you make a navigation, a menu, right? We all like to use those menus. Just shortcuts for not lack of a better term. If you're reading anything on this slide, that very last sentence, deliver on the promise for your link. If this link says submit a help desk ticket and I click it, it should take me right to where I start filling in the information for a help desk ticket. Shouldn't take me to the IT site where I see a bunch of stuff and then there's another button there that says click here to submit a help desk ticket. Then I click that. That was not a promise. You said submit a help desk ticket, not go to this site and look for the button. So when you're creating your navigation, please make sure that whatever you're saying, this is a link to, be that link directly to that. I personally, when we get SharePoint sites that come right out of the box, one of the things I typically do with my customers, I say, hey, that nice little left navigation, I don't like it. You should probably want to erase it and start something new. For example, there's a link that you'll see and it says documents. Well, that's super duper generic. What kind of documents are they? Contracts? Are they statements of work? Are they proposals? Or is it just a library, a bunch of stuff, and from there I got to go find? Maybe I can create a new link directly to the contracts and put that in there and say contracts. Have a link directly to the statements of work. Put that on that navigation, and when I click it, it takes me directly to the statements of work instead of a big old library of stuff that I got to find things. Now, Microsoft does produce some of those pretty generic, but you do have the capability to modify those navigations, whether it's on the left nav, top nav, or you create your own links to things, but always make them clear and don't make them go into 2-3 more clicks. Every click should deliver on the promise. If this is the link to submit a help desk ticket, please take me right to that where I just start filling in the information. Okay. Next slide, please. I know you're monitoring the chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So layout and design is also, not only is your navigation, not only is your branding, but your layouts. Remember, these templates that you're going to get when you say, hey, Department IT, I need a site, and you get a site built, it's just out of the box. It is nothing fancy schmancy. It's just, okay, make that more appealing to your users and have it, that design and the layout, maybe read a little better, maybe make their eyes go left and then there's some good information on the right and then bring it back to the left. But each one of those sections can be different department information, different news, lots of neat things. So just make sure when you're designing it, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of some templates that are out of the box. Should you want, you just gotta ask, okay? They are really, really, really neat, and they come with a lot of cool features built in out of the box. And it's gonna come with all the pictures that you see. It's gonna come with all the data. So you're gonna need to, you're gonna need to tweak it for your department or for your agency, but the layout and the functionality is all going to be there for you. Go ahead, click on to the next slide for me, please. All right. One of the neat things that takes some onus or some cares and responsibilities away off of you is that all of our SharePoint Online sites are mobile compliant. I have gone to sites from my phone that are not, and it's just, it stinks when you got to scroll left and right and up and down because you can't see things. All of the modern SharePoint is mobile compliant. Doesn't matter if I'm looking at it on a giant 37-inch curved monitor, an iPad Pro, or all the way down to an iPhone 5, the tiny iPhone 5, which is only 320 pixels wide. SharePoint Online will absolutely and dynamically adjust to the size of the pixel screen that is looking at it. Karen, can you bring your browser back over for me, please?
Sure.
Perfect. Go ahead and maximize your screen for me, please. So here we are. We're looking at the NCDIT's M365 Solutions SharePoint site. This is great. We've got a full screen. We're looking at it on a regular monitor on the computer or a laptop. Everything looks good. Unmaximize for me. So we still kind of see the 5 heroes, but let's say, hey, her kids run in, or the dog jumps up, cat jumps up on her desk, spills a lemonade on her laptop, and it goes bzzzt. She's like, dang it. I guess I got to put in a request for a new one. So she moves over to her iPad. Would you drag that left over? Oh, no, don't take it off the screen. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
Can you grab the left edge of your browser and just kind of drag it in some? Left edge. Right, left edge, right edge, either way.
Okay.
So notice how it's automatically adjusting. Thank you. Automatically adjusting. So now she's looking at, she's got maybe an iPad mini she's looking at here. Go ahead and scroll down for me. All this data now is kind of lining up. Notice we have, scroll up just a teeny bit for me, please, where you had all those links. I saw 3, 3, 3, 3 across, 3 down. You're right there. So she's got 9 quick links in there. This is great. Now what we're going to do, Karen, I want to do one more thing. Now your iPad, you never really charge it. So now you're going to go down to your cell phone. Go ahead and grab one of the edges and shrink it as small as you can. Now she's working off of her phone. And notice everything is still there. Go ahead all the way up to the top. Don't be afraid. Because we had that hero web part. Hey, there's only 1 picture, but there was 5. Notice she's got those arrows. All of your Microsoft 365 environment is already compliant for mobile access and dynamically adjusts to the size of the pixels that's looking at it. So this could be emulating a small cell phone. Maximize your window for me one more time, please. So also one thing that I wanted to notice across the top, she has M365 agency administrators, NCDIT intranet, meet the team, support best practices. Unmaximize for me, please, would you? That's not on her, but notice she's got that little hamburger menu. Go over to the far left and click on the 3 lines. There is her navigation. So you don't lose your navigation. You still have it and can go to any one of those on this cell phone. Thank you, Karen, for that demo. Much appreciated.
No problem.
All right, let's go to the next slide, please. All right. What we've got, this picture is busy and there's a whole lot of words. And one of the things I don't like is to read. I'm never one of those type of presenters that reads you a wall of words. You, by all means, can sit there and read what's on there. But what I want to tell you, when you design your site, when you put information out there, ensure that it is relevant. It is what they're looking for or what you're looking for. And what's cool thing is that very first one says, identify your key audiences. One of the things you can also do is target information to specific people, specific groups. So let's say, for example, we're in the department IT, but there are some manager stuff that they have to put on there. They can put manager articles like, hey, don't forget, we've got a 3 o'clock meeting, on M365 stuff today at 3 p.m. Well, we're not part of the management staff. We don't want to read that. They can target that announcement or that article or that link to the M365 IT managers, and only they see that link or that reminder or that announcement. We don't. So you also can, when you design that information and put that information on your on your site, you can also audience target information to ensure that, hey, what's only relevant to me, because I'm not IT management, I don't need to read that stuff. Don't care if they got a 3 o'clock meeting because it's not for me. Target that information, or even just not even within your team, external people coming in don't need to see that you guys do have a 3 o'clock meeting for today. So I'm saying, so just kind of keep that in mind while you're putting your information out there. Create a good layout, create good links. Remember, those links need to always deliver on a promise. If it is for this, then take me to that, not something I've got to find. Okay. Let's go to our next slide, please. Wow, I kind of went ahead of myself. Using targeted communication, absolutely right. So this is kind of where I was talking to previously on the last slide. I personally just mentally, I went ahead to this particular slide, but absolutely target your information to the appropriate folks. And you can, by the use of some things called security groups. If you don't know what security groups, I'm not going to get into that in this session because my time is kind of running out, but talk to Karen and Michelle and just say, hey, what does this mean? What are security groups and how does it benefit me? I'll be more than happy to, get in on a meeting with you afterwards and say, hey, I'll tell you all about it. I love to chit chat. All right, Karen, next slide, please. One really important thing is that's already built into your sites, guys, is the fact that you have usage analytics. That's also important for you as site owners or your site users. What am I putting out there? Are people even coming here? Because maybe my stuff was, oh, hey, here's an announcement that was in November of last year. Ooh, stale. Nobody's coming back because it's outdated. Take a look at your usage analytics and see. I want to build something that people want to keep coming in, people want to click on, people want to read. So keep that information flow current. This way your users are coming back to see, hey, what's the latest thing? Or even your visitors from a different agency, what's the latest thing on your site? They want to see. They keep coming back. Okay. There are some things that I haven't included in there in the bottom, but I haven't tried it in the GCC environment, but there's even social networking capabilities where I can put something in SharePoint and use a flow to post it out to X, formerly known as Twitter. What? Absolutely, that can even happen. I'm sure there's some approval processes for that, but that functionality, that capability is built in right now that if I post something, I can tweet it. I think it's still called tweet. I don't even know. Next slide. I can get back to gamification if that's what, go ahead and go back to the last slide, please. Okay. There are a lot of tools that are built into these, and take a look at your apps. Do you have apps that are built into the 365 environment that can empower your users to, like, for example, Forms, Microsoft Forms. You can use other apps like Planner. You can assign tasks to other people and link them inside of your SharePoint. Okay. Now, things like badges and, hey, congratulations, you've been, our number, one visitor for the past 3 months. If you're tracking, your usage analytics, sure, you can do things like that and promote this guy or this gal that, hey, look, they are our number one visitor. They've had 1,117 visits over the last, 30 days. You can do those types of things to help people say, well, I want to be the leaderboard next month, so I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to keep visiting. Your usage analytics can give you that type of information. Next slide. Okay. What I want to do is I want to kind of take a look at a couple of examples. There is a link, guys, it's super easy. It's just called Lookbook. You see that link down at the bottom. If you want to see some pretty cool templates, and I picked like 4 in our slides here that we're going to cover next, but if you want to look at some other templates that are out there, click on that link or type in that link in your browser and go peek around. There are a lot of very cool templates, and guess what? IT may not like it, but they can use them and build your sites for you. They're going to come in exactly what you see on that lookbook.microsoft.com site. So you'll have a picture of a person you don't know and a bunch of text and links to certain things. Not really important to you, but your layout will be there. Then you can tweak it. So we have a few minutes left. Let's go to the next slide, please. Dana, thank you for posting that link. Hot diggity. It's awesome. This isn't a template called the perspective. There is a link on there. Would you click on that, Karen? It says link to the perspective example. Should take us to this link inside of Lookbook. Awesome. It's getting there. It's because you're sharing screen and to a whole bunch of people. So go ahead and maximize our window here. Now you're going to see a little button down there that says add to your tenant. You're not going to be able to, but this is where, if you like this look and feel, you see they've got the expand the section that says web parts used.
Sorry.
On the left. Keep coming up on the left.
Okay. Sorry.
Up on the left, a second little drop down, that one.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's on this template, it's told right there. They're using the news carousel. They're using the call to action. They're putting in a stream link as well, a text file or text web part. So these are all the different web parts to create this exact layout. Now, yes, I don't know who Miriam Graham is, and she has nothing to do with the state of North Carolina. So if you ask for this template, you're going to get a picture that woman and the drone and those pictures, it's going to be identical, but it will be for you to edit. If you like this look and feel, which is pretty darn neat, it's got a lot of information. Go ahead and scroll down a little, please. And there's more web parts down there. They've got lots of really cool things, and the layout is already built for you. So just use this template if you like it. Say, well, yeah, we're not going to put any drone pictures. I don't know who she is. I don't care what FlySafe is. Cool, that's fine. Edit this to meet your needs. Let's go back to PowerPoint. And go to the next slide. This one is called Crisis Communication. Go ahead and click on that link to Crisis Communications. This template was built when COVID hit, because we had a lot of people that were on 365 and we didn't know how to really get this information out to them. This template is already out there with links to the World Health Organization, with videos on how to wash your hands, lots of good information on how we get this. Hey, don't come to work. Make sure you do this, you do that. Lots of really neat stuff, including links to, you see the CDC down there. It's following their Twitter or X feeds and so forth. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit. And the same thing, if you like this look and feel, but it's not what you need, because we don't, we're not looking for the crisis communications. I don't have the next pandemic I'm writing about, but I like this layout. Ask DIT for this one. Scroll up a little bit again. Once again, expand the web parts used. Telling you right there, everything that's built into this layout these are the web parts that are using right now. So if you like the layout, of course, you want to get rid of all the data, that's fine. Ask for this look and feel from Lookbook, and they can create it for you. Let's go back to the presentation, please. Next slide. Awesome, another one, link to landing. Okay, same thing, different look. Now, if you notice, they all have different layouts, and it's not an entire wall of words. This one's got the world clock on there. Go ahead and expand the web parts used. There's a countdown timer. There's also the world clock built into that. So I can say, hey, what time is it here in Raleigh? What time is it in LA? What time is it in Japan? You can configure those clocks on there for you as well. So lots of pretty cool stuff. What's the weather locally? Bingo. You know, I can put this type of information on my site. And there's that countdown in the very upper right-hand corner. They got a nice little image behind it. Got 467 something, 3 days, 0 minutes, 31 seconds. Great. If you needed to have this is great. For example, a good example would be like HR. Hey, maybe there's a particular time frame that you've got to sign up for renewing your benefits. By this date and time, they can put a countdown on HR's website that says, we got a countdown to whether you sign up or you lose your benefits. No, but just throwing out some options in there. Let's go back to PowerPoint, please. And the next one. Engineering onboarding. I don't know if I really want to take it again. We're going to do the exact same thing, but that's what the layout is going to look like. Notice how it's still not a wall of words. I've got reading up on the right. I've got a bunch of nice little images down below that. That looks great. Let's you see all the web parts that's being used. They've got some KPI type of information listed down below. Lots of really cool features that you have built into this template. If you like it, just ask the Department of IT to say, give me this template because it's pretty cool. Look around in Lookbook. These are just 4 examples that I wanted to kind of throw at you. There's so many others. As a matter of fact, there's even one called the 365 Learning Pathways, which is all free Microsoft 365 training. That is already built into your tenant. That was one we implemented a couple years ago. So if you want to know how to do something in Word, you want to learn how to do something in SharePoint, want to learn how to do something in Teams, go there. The cool thing about that 365 Learning Pathways is all of the training information that's in there is directly connected to our support websites or support.microsoft.com. So if we change it, your tenant gets updated. How many times have we seen, here's a training document on how do we do something, but the software has been updated, and then it's outdated. Look at that. Karen posted the link to the 365 Learning Pathways. Free training that's available to you to use every day, anytime you want. All right, back to PowerPoint, please, for me. And the next. All right, so here we are. We're kind of wrapping some things up. Is there a question or a hot mic? No questions? Okay. I just heard a hot mic. So the cool thing about being on that 365 platform is just it's integrated with everything. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, you name it. They are all interwoven. They can be separated, but that's a whole nother nightmare we don't even want to go down. You know, using SharePoint is your storage, like I think that we talked about a couple of minutes ago. Yeah, that's the storage of everything that we're working on inside of Teams, or we want people to come to our site. That's where we're storing that information. We're getting off of network drives because I can't access the network drive when the boss asks me for something and I happen to be in the grocery store. I can access it on my phone, share the file, and then pay for my groceries and get out of there. Instead of, okay, boss, you got to wait till I drive home through this traffic, unload all my goods because I can't let my frozen stuff get melted, and then log into my computer, VPN in, then send you the file. No, we're getting those network drives. They're just a thing of the past and getting everything into SharePoint Online. Next slide. All right. I did want to mention that most of the images you've seen in this presentation I had created with Microsoft Copilot. I said, hey, design me this. And I fed it some information. So almost all of those images that you saw in my presentation today, with the exception of the screen captures that, from the different sites, they are created by Microsoft Copilot. Okay. Any questions? Because I know I'm kind of at time already, but are there any questions? Let me jump back into the chat. Absolutely. So Jessica asks, can you have multiple sites under the same SharePoint? Absolutely. They can't have the exact same URL, the exact same web address. So it can't be nconnect.sharepoint.com//HR. I can't have another one called HR. I can have HR and then HR team or HR group, all sorts. Yeah, absolutely. You have more than one site. There's no problem with having more than one site. How do we remove frequent sites on the dashboard that have been shared with us? Unfollow them. So just visit that site and click the little star that says follow, unfollow.
Yeah,
Might take a
like
little
right
while for
here.
those. Yep, it looks like Matthew's saying they still show up though. So are we talking on the SharePoint application page? So would you go to the SharePoint homepage, click SharePoint in the upper left for me, please? Talking about this site here, Matthew?
It'll show recent whatever you've been to recently.
But his claim is that he hasn't been going to them. Well, I don't know how much you all in Department IT manage these links over here, so we'll have to get back with you on Matthew, but I do want to address Jasmine's question here. Jasmine, deleting files is simple, but understand because we have retention policies, because there are state mandates, there are federal regulations that says the state of North Carolina has got to keep everything. You really don't delete it. You delete it so you don't see it, but it goes into a preservation hold library until that expires, whatever time frame that might be. Your site may have, or your agency may have a retention of 3 years. Another agency may have a retention of 4. Someone may have 7. Someone may have 10. So even though you delete it, it's still kept until the end. So if we delete today, my retention policy is 3 years. So it'll be 3 years from now, it'll then be deleted.
And we have a question about how to delete files from SharePoint.
Yes.
Jasmine, if you have access to a site, you would just go to site contents, and I'm not actually going to delete anything here, but we go into documents, click your 3 dots, and then you can delete. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Cool. Awesome. I am over my time and I apologize. I love to talk and I love to share information. So I may have shared more than I should have. My time is done. Guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for gifting me the most precious gift, which is your time. So I only hope that I've earned the privilege of your time for the past hour, and look forward to your utilization of SharePoint Online. If you ever got any questions, holler at Karen and Michelle, and if they can't handle it, holler at me.